Disney's Moana, Chapter 14. The deafening roar of the whirlpool surrounded Moana as she sank into darkness. With a sickening lurch, she saw the last blue of the sky disappear as the hole closed up behind her, and then she was falling through strange, dimly lit waters. Flashes of movement in the periphery of her vision made her turn, but she couldn't see anything. Was she starting to hallucinate as she ran out of air, or was there another spiraling vortex below her? Suddenly, Moana passed through what felt like the surface of the ocean, only she was still falling down, not going up. The air around her was odd, like it was charged with lightning, but at least she could breathe, although she was now spinning toward a violet-colored ground that she desperately hoped was soft. Oof! Instead of hitting sand, Moana crashed into the solid shape of Maui, then bounced off him and began tumbling down a steep bank of tiered levels, almost like the shells on a coral reef, leading to an eerie, glowing forest below. "Well, she's dead," Maui proclaimed from above her as she careened downhill. That was not encouraging. Whoa. Something sticky and gelatinous caught Moana in midair. Well, at least she hadn't landed on her head. A quick look around from her upside-down vantage point showed her a strange world with plants that looked like enormous anemones, pulsating with light from within, and soaring arches of coral everywhere. Poking out in more threatening formations were groups of large, spiny sea urchins dotting the forest. Everything felt surreal, as though she were on the ocean floor, but she was the size of a shrimp, and everything around her was an unnatural, vibrant color. Of course, if she was the shrimp, then that meant she was at the bottom of the food chain, and it seemed Maui had left her there. All of a sudden, she felt herself being tugged upward. Eyes open, Moana craned her head to see what was happening. The sticky substance that had stopped her fall was actually a tongue. A giant pink tongue, which was wrapped around her waist. A tongue that was attached to a bumpy lime green monster. A tongue that was now reeling her up toward a gaping mouth. She couldn't tell if it was a frog or a lizard that had her in its grasp, but either way it didn't really matter since it clearly considered her its next meal. Eee! Squirming, Moana tried to wriggle free, but whatever the creature was, it was not letting go. No, she thought desperately. Maui was nowhere to be seen, and the ocean, which was beyond the ceiling of the sky far above, couldn't help her down there. Just as she was about to be pulled into the maw of the beast, something violet streaked across her vision. Snap! What looked like a purple Venus flytrap lunged down and sealed its carnivorous petals around the frog lizard monster. Together, Moana and the tongue, which was still draped around her, dropped toward the ground, the sticky cocoon acting as a cushion to soften her fall. Ew! Moana shrugged off the tongue as quickly as possible. She dove toward the cover of some rocks, not wanting to become food for anything else. Crouched in a nook, she carefully peered out at the eerie world, wondering where Maui could have gone. There didn't seem to be any wind, but the anemones waved their arms in an uncanny imitation of trees. Other than that, nothing seemed to stir, but the lack of movement was unsettling. She knew it wasn't empty out there. Adding to the effect were strange plinking sounds that echoed off the coral, making it hard to pinpoint their origin. Tentatively poking her head out, Moana whispered as loudly as she dared, not wanting to call attention to herself, "Maui! Maui!" Something rustled in the towering kelp beds to her right. Moana's heart relaxed as a silhouette made its way toward her. "Maui," she said in relief. But the face that pushed through the weeds wasn't his. A lumbering creature that resembled a blowfish with legs emerged, its eyes lighting up when it spotted her. "Ah!" she screamed, backpedaling frantically. "Maui!" Fleeing through the anemones, she rounded a curve, the blowfish monster close behind her. The hair on the back of her neck stood up, her senses alerting her she was about to be chomped when, whoosh! A geyser of water burst from a round depression in the ground just behind her, firing the blowfish creature far into the sky. Moana ducked under an arch of coral, relief coursing through her. That had been close. Taking a few deep breaths, Moana waited until her heart rate was back to normal. Lalatai certainly kept you on your toes. Whap, whap, whap. Above her, a flock of massive, grotesque bats flapped past, and Moana watched their path carefully. She did not want to accidentally walk into their cave later. As they winged over a ridge, she noticed a curved formation, like a conch shell, stuck on one side. Something glimmered from within it. Drawing closer, Moana peered through a crack in the outer wall and spotted the white sheen of carved bone. "What's that?" Yes, it was Maui's fishhook. Scanning her surroundings, she saw no sign of Maui anywhere. Well, if he wasn't going to come looking for her, she wasn't going to wait for him. She could get the hook without him. "I'm a demigod. I have a magic-y hook. Hoobity-doo." Moana imitated Maui, waving her hands. "I'll get your stupid hook," she said, her voice full of determination. Circling around to the front, Moana paused outside the entrance. The cave looked dark and forbidding, and a cool wind whistled out of it, carrying the scent of rotting fish. But if the hook was inside, and they needed the hook to defeat Te Ka, then inside was where she would go. She stepped into the darkness, the walls of the cave only dimly reflecting the light from outside. As she walked in deeper and deeper, the path curved around as though she really was inside a conch shell. From somewhere up ahead came a low light. She was close now. After a few more twists, the passageway opened out into a huge cavern punctured by several holes in the ceiling to the sky above. There were no monsters in sight. Tamatoa must have been out, but scattered on the floor lay a collection of trinkets, polished paua shells, jade baubles, decorated spearheads, sparkling gold discs, a net of pearls, and the giant, intricately carved white fish hook that she'd spotted from outside. Moana grinned. She couldn't wait to see the look on Maui's face when she showed up with his hook. Slowly, she eased forward, placing her feet as carefully as she could to avoid disturbing the treasure and making any unnecessary noise. Surrounded by gems and gleaming metal, she reached the fish hook, an excited spark running through her. The hook was almost as tall as Moana herself. She needed to hoist herself up onto her back. Bending her knees, she wrapped her arms around the large curve of the hook and lifted, straightening her legs. But the hook didn't move. Moana slid up its length instead, losing her grip. Frowning, she tried again, then pushed against it with all her might. It still didn't budge. Somehow it was adhered to the cave floor. Just then, the ground underneath Moana's feet began to vibrate. And was it rising? Yes, it definitely was rising in the air and tilting a bit. A huge serrated claw unfolded from underneath it. Moana's stomach churned with dread. It wasn't the floor she was standing on. It was the crab monster Tamatoa's